Hi, I'm Ian Willoughby, and you're very welcome to episode 10 of Czech Next Wave. This is a podcast produced by the Czech Centres Network and Radio Prague International that's introducing super talented young Czechs to listeners around the world. My guest in episode 10 is the illustrator and comics artist Lenka Šimečková, who's established herself as one of the most exciting names in her field over the last decade. Lenka's wonderful and striking work, frequently characterized by a macabre, dreamlike atmosphere, appears in comics, books and games, and even on tarot cards. And it's earned her thousands of social media followers all around the world. Enjoy my chat with Lenka Šimečková now in this episode of Czech Next Wave. I guess every child likes comics. I know I did. But how and when did you first start getting into comics and graphic novels in, I suppose, a relatively serious way?
Well, I lived in the small village and there was no access to comics, only small public library, and there was no comics. But I was buying fantasy magazine where there were reviews of comics. So I was reading about comics without reading comics. Yeah. And then in high school, when I got to the bigger town, they had comics in public library, so I got to finally read what I read reviews about.
And how did you find actually reading comics? Did they live up to your expectations after you had previously only read about them? Were they as good, or how did they compare to your expectations?
Yeah, some I was really looking forward to, but then I read it and kind of I don't know what the hell they were talking about in the review. It was just, and some were like, wow.
The Czech Republic has a great network of art schools for elementary school age pupils. Did you go through these schools, these artistic schools for younger pupils, and how was that experience?
Yeah, I loved it. Actually, in the kindergarten, my teacher told my mom that she should send me there. So I went basically from first grade to the ninth grade, and I was in Český Krumlov, and I loved it because the kids were kind of different there, right? It was more kind of weirdos. I mean, we were all kind of weirdos, so I felt like I belong. And the environment of Český Krumlov was also just beautiful. It was highlight of my week visiting this school always, because we were drawing outside and eating ice cream and people were waving and in the old architecture, right? Castle and everything. And of course I love Egon Schiele, and it's everywhere in Český Krumlov, so that was big inspiration, like growing up, seeing his paintings everywhere and drawings. Yeah.
I guess you started doing comics after you finally started reading them. What were your first efforts like at doing your own strips or whatever?
I'm not sure if it was my first one, but I think it was when I tried to competition into Krev, in the magazine Krev, Class of Death. It was a screenplay who won previous competition, and then it was drawing competition, and that was my first comics. I think I did, and it won. So I was kind of like, okay, maybe it's not so hopeless. It worked, so maybe I do another one.
You have a very distinctive style now. When did you begin to develop as an artist and to kind of create a style of your own? Was it from the very beginning with your first work?
No, I kind of bounced from thing to thing, and it was struggle. It wasn't like intentional that I tried to find the style. I just wanted to recapture some kind of atmosphere, and I was searching the technique, and I keep changing things. It never really felt right. And at the beginning, I loved illustrations in Jules Verne books, those etchings and stuff. I tried to mimic that and it just didn't work. And then I tried to mimic Glenn Fabry and all those comics artists and also didn't work. So I just kind of let it loose. And in years, I think at the start of college, it started like becoming my some elements fell out, some elements become prominent, and I kind of just go with it and don't force anything.
I'm going to show my ignorance here, but how do you actually create your works? I mean, in terms of the actual technique that you use, how do you do it?
Yeah, I do the base lines and line art in pencil, just ordinary pencil and paper, and then I scan it, and all the colors and textures I do on the computer because I love how I can just play with it and do multiple versions of it and change shades, colors, how I want it. But I love texture of graphite, of the dust, so I make the textures separately, traditional on paper, then I scan it, and then I like in the computer I put it into the line art and like cut it out and just combine it. So it's kind of traditional and digital both kind of.
I remember reading some years ago that Stephen King, the horror writer, has a kind of set working method where he sits down every day. It doesn't matter what his mood is. He works for so many hours. He writes 6 pages. Can you just sit down, I don't know, at 9 a.m. in the morning and produce stuff? Or do you have to feel a kind of spark of inspiration?
Depends. If it's personal project, I have to get the idea and then I just sit on it and for hours and I forget what time is it and then it's 4 a.m. and yeah. But when it's commission, one has to sit on it like normal work hours. But I love doing like my stuff and just forget about time.
You studied at the University of West Bohemia in Pilsen at the Studio of Comics and Illustration for Children. How useful did you find that course?
I kind of see it that it gave me time to find really my style and just experiment and crystallize what I want to do. And of course, I love the collective, my schoolmates. It was great time there. Depending on the teacher, some kind of try to push us into a certain style, but then some others just let everyone do what they are good at and just expanding that. So.
And is there a kind of Czech school of comics art? And if there is that what they were trying to teach you in Pilsen, at least some of the teachers?
Not now. With the new generation, I feel like because there is so much access to the foreign comics that everything blends together and the style, like Czech style, it doesn't really exist anymore. Maybe back then when the like it was harder to get foreign comics, so there was Saudek, right, and all those kind of who try to mimic him, but now there is too much variety to really say so.
Of all the projects that you've done so far, Lenka, which ones have been particularly important to you personally?
I guess my bachelor's work, which was Pater Domu comics kind of book, which was my first like longer work, which was a collection kind of my dreams that I collected through the years, and I kind of put them together into one thing that allowed me to close the chapter of my like kind of life. And then I mostly just illustration rather than comics. For example, the tarot cards I recently did for the Fantasy Flight games. I absolutely loved working on it, and it was just like my blood type, what I want to do, what I love to do, and I could really like do it how I want it.
I was wondering, if you work with somebody else or if you take a commission, what are the factors that will typically attract you to a project or make you think, okay, yes, this is one that I will do?
if it's gonna be fun to draw, right? If it got some atmosphere that I can really play with, if its characters interesting that will be fun to draw, or if I have hands free enough to experiment with some colors. And what I, for example, don't like to do is kind of everyday stuff like comics with just people with plain t-shirts and jeans and this kind of stuff. It just so something I can really play with.
There's one thing I'm very curious about. In the case where you work with a writer, does that writer have to have a decent understanding of how comics work or how graphic novels work? Or can they just send you like something like a short story or an outline, and then you can convert their idea into a visual medium?
I much rather when they have a screenplay already like planned out, because I found when they just send the plain text just freely for me to interpret, sometimes it's struggle to really find a middle line, because they want something but they can verbalize what it is, and I have to like find it for them, which then includes lots of redrawing, and it just kind of becomes sometimes even frustrating to really get it right, and they just keep searching what they really want. So I rather when they have the idea already planned out, and I can just sometimes I can have like, okay, this will not really work, can we edit that, but it's they know what they want. I like that it's far easier to really come to the agreements and work on it.
You have a lot of followers on social media. Is that something that's important for your work, or is it something kind of more on the side?
It used to be important, but now not now anymore. But kind of, I was very lucky because I think it really helped me, because I'm very socially awkward. I just can send my portfolio somewhere and please hire me or something. I just don't have it in me. So I kind of, the social media was kind of act of desperation, so that I was posting there and hoping maybe like people will see it, maybe they will write me and want something. And it happened because I was kind of in good time. I started doing it when algorithms still worked in favors. So it happened, and I'm very happy that it did. But now I don't even have analytics and check it. It's not that important now.
You also do some international projects like the Ouroboros cycle, if I'm saying it right, book for A Sojourn in Bohemia by G.D. Falkson. How did you get that work? Do you have an international agent or something like that?
No. I just post on social media, and he found me and wrote me that I have a style that kind of fits into what he wants. Most collaboration works like that they find me on media and write me, or now they saw my other project and want something similar and stuff like that.
I have a sense that the world of comics and graphic novels is a very strongly male world. Is that still the case? And have you ever encountered any kind of prejudice or anything like that?
I don't think that's the case anymore. At least in my class, we were basically all girls, and now in Czech new comics, right? It's I think overwhelmingly girls. So I don't really feel like that, but I know that for example, in America, it's a little bit different. That the superhero comics and stuff, like there is still a lot of like fanboys who then harass the female creators, and like I know that that's the case, but here in Czech Republic, I don't really feel it. But I remember when I did the cover for 2000 AD for the Misty and the Scream, I found some review where the guy was really angry that it was a woman predominantly on the cover, and it was for like from the female. Like he was really angry about that.
Do you take much inspiration from other art forms away from visual art, like movies or even music or anything like that?
Yeah, I love old horrors, like for the atmosphere, like those bad, like Hammer movies or Dracula and Frankenstein's and stuff. And I love horrors that are happening in one like space, like in one room, for example, and like the atmosphere of like air that's standing still. And I love trying to capture it in the picture. And I always get obsessed with some video game, for example, BioShock and Dishonored. I just absolutely love the atmosphere that sucks me in, and I want to kind of, I feel like the atmosphere then bleeds into what I want to draw. And yeah, music also sometimes.
Are you into Marvel movies? Obviously, all the Marvel movies are originally based on comic characters.
Yeah, no, not really. Just superhero stuff doesn't really excite me because it's very formulaic, right? I used to like it, but I like got overfed with it. Like it was too much of it, and just kind of got tired because once you see one, you see them all, and I don't know.
We have a mutual friend, James Stafford, the author of The Sorrowful Puto of Prague, which is the first work of yours that I came across, was in that book. And I thought it might be a nice idea to ask James to suggest a question for you, if that's okay. And here is the question. I know you are quite a big gamer. How much does game art influence what you draw, or even your choices in what you choose to play as a gamer?
A lot, I think. Basically, the how I gained the following on the social media was because of gaming fan arts, like for the Dishonored and for the BioShock, right? So it influenced me a lot, and one of the reasons why I love Dishonored because they have the amazing artists that have like their own style, and they let that style influence the game. Like the Dishonored is all sharp and angular, and it's exactly how that Sergei, the concept artist, like he paints. And I sometimes get into the game because of fan arts. Like for example, the BioShock, I just found fan art of Sander Cohen, and the character just interests me so much that I tried the game. It's a lot, how do you, interwoven with it, so I think.
Actually, this is interesting. Is doing fan art a way to get into doing like real art? Is it a way for somebody to get attention and begin having a career?
Yeah, absolutely, because algorithms pick it up easier, right? Because there's no known keywords and then people on the social media then repost it into their fan clubs and stuff, and sometimes even the publishers or developers notice it. I, for example, got to do the Titan Comics covers because of they had a Dishonored series comics, and they knew I knew my fan arts, and that's why they wrote me. Like, so I absolutely like works. It's kind of, I know some people don't like it. They see it as a lesser art, but if you love the product, so it's just ideal to connect it like this.
My final question, Lenka, is looking to the future, how would you like to see your career developing, or are there things you really dream of doing?
I would love to just be able to live off just my things, just drawing what I want, and here and there pick up a project that really is close to me. But I would love to get to the point where I'm really happy with how I'm able to capture what I want to capture, because I still don't feel like I really get it. I still searching for the way, and I'm not quite there yet. So I would love to just be happy with my abilities enough. And I actually recently got to work on the project on something I really had on a bucket list since I was 13 years old. I still can talk about it, but it's kind of like, wow, one of the things I wanted to do it happened, so I maybe not that bad.
Many thanks indeed to Lenka Šimečková, who doesn't give a whole lot of interviews, for agreeing to speak to me for Czech Next Wave, a podcast series produced by the Czech Centres Network and Radio Prague International. This has been episode 10 of the pod, so if you've enjoyed this chat with Lenka, why not check out some of the earlier ones? And of course, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Our theme music is by another mega-talented young Czech, organ player and keyboardist supreme, Ondřej Pivec. That's all for now from me, Ian Willoughby. Speak to you again on Czech Next Wave very soon.